68 degrees here at the KPEL studios. Our weather update being brought to you by the Gage House. For more than 30 years, the Gage House has supplied the oil field, petrochemical, and OEM markets with precision quality instruments and reliability. Visit gagehouse.com. Right now, we have a traffic crash North University at West Butcher Switch Road. That's North University at West Butcher Switch Road. An earlier crash in Youngsville, Minolta Road at East Milton. That's Minolta Road at East Milton. And yes, I-10 eastbound and westbound.
And looking outside, the fog is getting thick. Now the sun's coming up a little bit, we can really see it. Give yourself some extra time because I can't even see across the crossroads of Acadiana, Bertrand and Eros Landry. I can't even see across there, so be careful. Watch out, school zones, buses, all that stuff.
When you were coming here this morning, there was no fog,
No
right?
fog for me this morning.
Me either.
It's thick there now, so be careful.
Yeah, and if you're going to Texas, it's still closed. Oh, wait, Texas isn't closed. I'm sorry. Interstate 10 eastbound and westbound is closed.
What did we say yesterday? The stars at night are big and bright. Almost to Texas. I think Warren and Carol are rethinking their decision to wake up and come on in today. So we're in rare form.
I've never seen him really put his head down in such a shameful way before.
Lots of things going on. Oh, praying for us, I'm sure, Warren.
Praying? I do not believe.
Okay, so I'm going to call an audible here. We just had the news about 30 minutes ago that the president will announce his Supreme Court nomination this morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. We're going to carry it live on KPEL. Warren and I sort of talked about this a little bit off the air. He walked in. For the first time, he said, "Rob, you're totally right," and it'll probably be the last time. My thoughts was that, of course, he was going to make a nomination, despite the calls for him not to, because it's just his job.
Well, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he?
Exactly.
I mean, we have measures in place to block it if you don't like it. But as far as Carol, I don't know if you were listening, but I said, it's like if I told you, hey, Bernie, on January 1st, I'm leaving this job, and I'm happy, and it's great, and I know I'm leaving. So while you find your replacement, it doesn't affect me anymore. I'm still who I am for the next year. Block it if you don't want it. Do y'all feel the same way pretty much?
Well, his constitutional right and duty is to make the nomination. The Republicans' right and my belief, duty, is to block it.
Okay. Well, that's a good little starter. Good little starter that just like popped up, today. So I wanted you guys.
I don't think anybody had any doubt that he was going to nominate somebody. I mean, why would he not use every lever of power? He's a lame duck, but his whole modus operandi has been to take it to him. Because he knows they're little weasels. They'll cave.
And what about the thought that maybe the person he is going to nominate, I mean, have you seen the short list, that it could be a Republican that will just be an easy confirmation? What do you think to that, Warren?
It's going to be kind of interesting because the one thing that just really struck me when all of this started is all of these Republicans who just scream and holler about the Constitution jumped up and the first thing they said, he's got no right to do that and he can't do that, I mean, come on, you can't have it both ways. Of course, politicians want it both ways all the time. But I'm really, really interested to see what Orrin Hatch, senator from Utah, is going to do on this deal, because Orrin Hatch has been one of those who was usually pretty open-minded when it came to Supreme Court nominees and anybody else. And Orrin Hatch says, when the president of my party selected a candidate, he said, I pretty much always went along with them, and unless there was really something glaring out there, he said, and I expect the people from the other side to go along with them too. Mm-hmm. He said that's why whenever the president from the other side, I think he was talking about Clinton, he said when they appoint a Supreme Court justice, I am going to go along with it unless there is something out there that just absolutely wrecks the train. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
makes sense.
Now it's going to see what old brother Orrin is going to do on this deal and how many of them are going to kind of follow suit on that. But I can tell you right now, I mean, the water has been so poisoned. I really wish that some kind of way we could just wave a magic wand and get rid of Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and about a dozen others. I think that the whole country would be better off, because whatever happens is that core group that's got to jump up there and scream and holler, the world is coming to an end. The world is coming to an end, and so
Well, if history holds true, well, for instance, Grassley is chairman of the committee that will hear that and whether or not they send it out, which is why the very first nominee name came out was that Allen woman, who is from Grassley's home state, who is a Harvard graduate, went to Harvard with Obama.
Well, that should disqualify him first.
Right there.
Right there.
But anyway, if past history is any judge, it'll be either a woman, a Latino, a black, or gay, or all of them both.
Well, that would be interesting if they could be all of them. That would be very interesting. Wow.
Anyway,
and a Republican to boot.
But I mean, they have said all along, and could be, they have said all along that they were going to follow the Biden rule, the Schumer rule, whatever the rule is, that in the last few months of a president's term, we should not, while we're having a presidential election, we should not be having this conversation because the people should decide by voting for a president. They better be careful what they wish for.
So that kind of leads us into our first official topic that we had on the books, really talking about last night's election returns. We know it was a big night, 2 winner-take-all states. John Kasich came through. I had doubts that he was going to change the mindset of a whole party in Florida, but he did it and won it. Carol, we'll start with you. Where does this leave us? What do last night's results mean?
Well, it means we still have a long slog ahead of us in terms on the Republican side. On the Democrat side, she's got those super delegates. She's winning big especially across the southern tier of states, which is where Cruz hoped to do well, but has not done so well. With that Florida win, of course, that really pushes Trump way ahead. But it's a long slog. But the ironic thing is that Trump really hasn't, in most cases, unless it was a winner take all, has not broken through the 50%. In most of these other ones, he's in the 30s and, maybe 40, but hasn't really broken through, what the conventional wisdom is. The other has-beens that are not in the race anymore, Kasich and, Kasich is still, the man is delusional, but anyway, he's going to stay in the race. The man is
one way to put it.
He's delusional. But Rubio's out, and the conventional wisdom is that those are automatically going to go to the non-Trump candidate. Now, I don't think that's necessarily true. And frankly, if I were Cruz's advisor, I was comparing both of the speeches last night. And one is a marketer and one is a policy wonk. Marketers win out over policy wonks all the time. We're going to win. It's huge. We're going to win, win, win. It's great. It's wonderful. You're fantastic. We're going to have a great it's great, win, fantastic. It's all those buzzwords that everybody wants to hear. You hear them in commercial copy all the time, as I know very well. But the other guy is saying, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, all the things that really need doing, but nobody really wants to hear that. They want to hear win, 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 happy, happy, fantastic, you're great.
And I thought that the thing about Cruz, too, is that he was also saying, hey, Marco Rubio supporters, this train has some open seats on it. Come on.
He's been courting for the last, couple of weeks, when the inevitable came through that Rubio would not be in there. And the natural place for Rubio's voters to go is to Cruz, really.
Yeah. Warren.
Talking about the policy wonks and the promoters and all that, everybody screams and hollers, not everybody, but some of the unlearned people holler about Trump has no plan. He has no plan. What he does have, he has vision and he has a goal. It was like in World War II in the movie Patton, whenever one of the soldiers says, hey, General, where are we going? And Patton said, we're going to Berlin and I'm going to personally shoot the paper-hanging son of a gun. Or something to that effect.
Yes.
And that was the plan. And then we let the details take care of themselves, or the planners take care of the details. We got to have a plan, a vision, a goal of where we're going. And I think that's what Trump is saying over and over and over again. We're going to become Americans, and we're going to become winners again. It's kind of like Patton said, Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. And that's sort of where we are, and that the Republican Party, John Zogby wrote an article I read this morning where he said yesterday was the death of the GOP. Is that they can't vision the changing world, and the world has changed, and they don't like it, and it's changing without them, and so the GOP is gone. And my point is the GOP that he's talking about, which is all the Democrats who came in and took over and remade the party, and their image. I hope that he's right. I hope it is the death of that group politically. But,
Okay.
Last night when I'm watching all of the stuff, the main thing that came back to me was I'm not going in my baseball routine today, but I look at poor Marco and, and all at once I saw Rodney Dangerfield standing there saying, I get no respect, I come out of Florida, I get up there and the big boy's tell me, said, you need to take on Trump. You got some, you got some gonads, go after him now, boy. And so, I went after him. I did what they said. And what happened?
Yeah.
I get no respect.
No.
I even go to my home state. They don't even like me there no more.
When people talk about Rubio's political future, I don't feel like it's in statewide office in Florida. If I were him, I would call U-Haul now and get things ready. Move somewhere else.
If I were Rubio today, I think the first thing I would do is I would go out there and I'd go on an apology tour. And I would just tell the world, look, I'm so sorry. I made an ass out of myself, and I embarrassed myself, and I embarrassed the people of this country. The last thing we needed was some little twerp like that standing up there in a presidential election, getting down in the gutter. He set the new rules for gutter language and gutter tactics in a presidential campaign. My God, Lee Atwater, he started the guerrilla politics.
Warren, have you been listening to Trump?
He started the gutter politics and such stuff as that, So Trump was a little foul-mouthed. Does anybody remember Harry S. Truman?
And I think that's what Marco was responding to.
Marco was responding to it, but he certainly took it way down to about 4 levels down. He had to go down and dig deeper than the gutter.
No, he was
went
in the hole
into the
with
sewer.
Trump. He was definitely in the hole with Trump. But he went to,
Nobody's making those kind of analogies now. Look, that's not nice. We're trying to get away from those things, and Marco needs to quit
gets you
doing
nowhere, as I've learned. But Rubio, I think he does not have the heft that Cruz had. They're both first-term senators. Cruz has heft. He won his state. Kasich won his state. Rubio couldn't even win his state because what did he do as soon as he got to Washington? He did
join the other side.
He tried to play with the big boys. The Tea Party put him in, and he betrayed him first time out of the box.
So real quick before we go to break, Carol, what do you think is next for Rubio? What should be his first move when he wakes up this morning?
Take a vacation with his wife and kids.
Okay, you can't lose with that.
And say I'm through with politics forever.
No. He's going to have some seasoning. There'll be life again. Look, how many times did Reagan lose?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with the brokered convention, right?
Well, I don't even think it'll be brokered. I'll tell you the truth. They may try to do that, but that ain't going to work this time. There's too much out there. I don't think the insiders are going to be able to broker this thing, but it will be contested, and that's why Cruz keeps saying we have to beat Donald legitimately. We have to beat him legitimately, because otherwise nobody is going to believe that it's a legitimate win. Because what they're not seeing, just like my Trumpster friend over here, they're not seeing the, oh God, Moon just walked in. I don't even want to
Lock
say
the door. Moon doesn't need to come in here.
Keep him out of here. But, anyway, I don't know where I was, but Trump, I think, Moon, get out of here.
It's like the little kid that you never wanted to visit with. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, that was good. All right, we got to wrap this up.
We got to wrap it up.
We got news on the way.
We got to get to news, weather, and traffic, and then we'll continue with some local topics coming up.
We should have the video camera in here.
It's 7:30 at KPEL.
When the show starts out with so much giggling, I couldn't hear anything. I had my headphones on.
Oh, gosh. Warren wants to know if anyone in the room's ever been to Cuba. I never have been. I would like to go. I hear that it's perfectly untouched and
1950s America.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I hear.
Well, if you want to start up a used car lot, yeah.
Well, there you go.
I understand that's true, but I also understand that there's one very large section over there that is totally modern, that was in design for the European travelers.
Well, no, for the commissars.
Yeah.
Or when Russia used to go take their vacations there.
They
did the same thing in Prague. They kept Prague beautiful and all because they used to love to vacation there, the Soviets, Are
we taking a Wingin' It Wednesday cruise or something? Y'all want to go to Cuba?
No.
Okay, our next topic. Do you think it should be harder to start up a charter school in the state? Coming back locally, a Louisiana school voucher program could have eligibility tightened under a new plan John Bell Edwards is proposing. Charter schools, good, bad, too easy, too hard? We'll start with you, Carol.
Well, when you look into it, it's a mixed bag. It really is. You know, I'm for school choice, completely and totally for school choice. And but this is, I think, a sop to the teachers' unions who supported John Bell Edwards very heavily. And there are some, and the education establishment, you know, and there are some troubling things because typical in Louisiana, we do some kind of hybrid mix of these public-private partnerships that make you wonder what's really going on here. There are so many types of charter schools. Bessie, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, is in charge, has oversight over type 2, 4, and 5 charter schools. The local boards handle the type 1 and 3 charter schools. Okay. So let's make this as complicated as we can so nobody can figure it out. But here's the deal. When you look at the grades of some of these charter schools, you're going to raise your eyebrows because they're not doing any better than the schools supposedly that they are replacing. Mm-hmm. When you have, let's see, of A and B charters that are under the control of Bessie, these are the only stats that I had. There were 4 A charters and 18 B charters. You had 24 C charters, D 26, and F 19. So between D and F, you had almost half of the charter schools not in good shape. Yeah. And so when John Bell Edwards says he wants only D and F schools to go into the charters, you're wondering, is that going to be any better? And you have the local boards that are, you know, that set up and they're nonprofits, but they have behind them a national organization that is for profit. Yeah. That's what's happened here. Yeah. So you have Charter Schools USA and I think it's Heritage Academies or something like that, Harvest, whatever. So it's a mixed bag. As I said, I believe in school choice, but some of these charter schools in Louisiana and the way the whole thing is set up, it just makes you scratch your head. What's really going on? And they are getting money. I mean, out of the public pot, they are getting money, and some of them are state chartered. Some of them. Well, they all have to get approval, either from the local board or from the state board.
Warren.
Yeah, you know, I agree with Carol. It's a mixed bag, and I fall on both sides of this thing different times. That one, I'd absolutely agree with charter schools and school choice and vouchers and all of that stuff because I think public education as a whole is about 78.7% completely broken, and it needs to be straightened out. The first thing we need to do is we need to separate the university system from secondary education, elementary education, because they control the whole thing. They're the ones that's caused all the Common Core and all of that stuff. Their deal is they want more people coming in there in the school education and college. They don't give a damn about whether anybody learns anything in high school and elementary schools at all. If you want to tighten all the rules on charter schools and homeschooling and all of that stuff, to me it makes it a lot harder, raises the barrier of entry for people to start those. That may be good, it may be bad, but what it does is it helps to keep the status quo in place. I was on the Republican Party board here, and we debated supporting a tax increase, in which we passed. One time we were going to pay the teachers, have them the highest paid teachers in the state, because if we did that, we were going to raise test scores and dropout rates going down and on and on and on. So we voted to do that, and of course nothing happened. But I said at that deal, every time we were losing qualified and certified science and math teachers and all that, and I said, the problem with that is, it's the universities who set those standards of who's certified and who's qualified. Mm-hmm. And I said, sitting right here at this table is an open heart surgeon, Dr. Charles Bustani, who I will tell you right now is neither qualified nor certified to teach high school biology, high school chemistry, and I dare say first aid and public health. And you know what? I was right. I knew a surgeon who tried to teach biology in high school. He said, I was just flat told, unless you have a degree in education, no.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the problem, and I know there are some teachers around here who have gone to the private schools or parochial schools because there are different standards and there is a more, maybe individualized standard for a class, what you view as success, you know?
There can be, and there is a fast track, but it's 2 years.
They did change. They did change some of that stuff, but I remember
for certification. But you have a basic problem. The model is wrong. The basic model for education now is a 1940s, 50s model. What you have now with technology, you don't need buildings and all that sort of stuff. Look at what business has done. Business can locate anywhere. Why? Because of technology. There's a whole new paradigm shift that needs to be done in education, and it has to do with getting away from the bricks and mortar and, that kind of thing, which is good for spirit and for building camaraderie and rapport and all that, but it's not necessarily needed for education. But that's the model. And the other main differentiation between the schools of choice or private schools and the public school system is, well, first of all, you have a choice. If you have the wherewithal, the financial means, you have a choice. And that means the parents are going to be more committed when they see their money going directly into, they have to pay that tuition check every month. So much of the tax collection that's done is done through sales, through property. It's not a direct. I heard one guy very knowledgeable about taxes said if we had to pay our checks directly to the government for all of these services, there'd be a heck of a lot more oversight and more paying attention to what goes on.
Ronald Reagan tried to get that done at one time, where you could just write a check directly to your local school system and deduct that amount off of the total amount that you owed in taxes. And
they left him out.
That didn't get past his breath good.
No.
But that I go back. I know some of this stuff has changed. But I go back to the late '80s, about '87 or sometime, when we had one of our big huge crashes in the oil field. The Society of Exploration Geophysicists, who is made up primarily of real mathematicians, said, we're getting laid off, people getting laid off by the scores, by the hundreds. They had a seminar in Houston on how to become reemployed. And what they were telling a lot of those people is go teach school. That schools were just crying for math and science teachers, and said, go teach school. The only problem is these guys went out there and said, hey, I want to come teach school. Oh, good. So where'd you go to school? He said, well, I went to Colorado School of Mines. I got a master's in geophysics from Stanford, and I would like to come in here and teach school for about a year or so, But are you a certified teacher? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have an education degree? Well, I mean, no. Oh, get out the door, go on, next. And I mean, it's just people that have graduated from Annapolis and West Point, retired military officers, went to teach school, went to become school principals, and were told, oh, you're not qualified for us.
I think the most important part of the Superintendent Aguilar's Vision 2020 plan is the part about technology. Security is part of it too, but the part about technology is really important, and I would like to see more of the money go into upgrading technology in the schools rather than worrying about shiny new buildings.
We'll wrap up this topic and come back to wrap things up with the Wingin' It Wednesday crew. Carol Ross and Warren Cottle joining us. It's Acadiana's Morning News. Tell you who it was. 7:55, back to wrap up. Oh, Wingin' It Wednesday.
Rack it up.
Wingin' It Wednesday. Okay, the minimum wage debate has now come to the forefront. We've seen it nationally happen. We've seen these protests that never turned out to be a protest over minimum wages. It's now something that's on Governor John Bel Edwards' desk. Warren, go ahead and start with you. What are your thoughts about this topic?
I have come about 180 degrees on this topic, and I think that a raise in the minimum wage is appropriate. I would like to see that thing married to something that, like Elizabeth Warren wants, to start prosecuting criminals on Wall Street who stole $1 billion and never got prosecuted.
It's the big one, Ethel. Elizabeth.
But I'm just telling you, $7.25 an hour in this economy. First of all, I never paid minimum wage. I never did, and I don't know too many places out there who do. And but I just think that really and truly, I'm not opposed to it.
Carol?
Well, this is a feel-good measure. It's, he's talking about going from, and you have to take it in context of your surrounding states, but most of them don't have a minimum wage, which means the federal minimum wage kicks in. So, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Florida. Well, Florida is the federal minimum wage. I mean, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. Kicking it up to $8 an hour. I mean, it's a feel-good measure. It's not really going to do that much. When you look, it's all over the map as to what effect this will have. The thing that I worry about the most is the entry-level employees, because really, when you take it into account, experience, skill, education, number of years on the job, et cetera, that the wage gap between men and women disappears. Minimum wage is not even, it's a minuscule portion, like 2% of the population, the working population is on minimum wage. It's a very, very small number of people. So, in Louisiana, is it going to have that much of an effect? I don't think so, because Florida has 805. It's Florida that has 805. Texas right next door is the same as us. Arkansas has, Alaska. No, it's Arkansas, $8 minimum wage, and theirs is going to go up to $8.50 in 2017. So, I mean, an $8 minimum wage I don't think is going to break the bank. I just have a philosophical, as soon as government puts their finger on the scale, it tilts everything out of control. So, I just don't think there's a place for government to be dictating. Who owns the jobs? The employer, the businessman, the person who has invested. They own the job, and they should pay what they believe. If they pay more to people who are less qualified, it really hurts the people at the upper level.
And I think that's just how it has to go. And that's just sort of, I think, the flawed part of our model. In other places of the world where there's no minimum wage, it's higher.
The pay is higher. Exactly.
But you don't tip. I mean, it's
that's another
places,
thing. There is a difference between the tipped wage and the non-tip, because most states do have that differentiation between those who earn tips and those who do not.
There was a guy we met one time who was from Ireland. His name was Miles. We met him in Europe, and we tipped whatever our 20% in our mind. We do, and he was appalled. And he said, "These people make a good living to serve you. Their bosses pay them to serve you." It was just so foreign to us. You don't snub people, for a tip or anything like that. Warren Cottle, Carol Ross, thanks for joining us. Wingin' It Wednesday. Every Wednesday here at News Talk 96.5 KPEL. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to have another report on presidential politics from West Palm Beach, Florida. Someone who was at the Trump campaign, John Deckard from Fox News. Keep it right here. We have news, weather, and traffic coming up. This is News Talk 96.5 KPEL.